Hello world, welcome to the journalist chat today. Today we have a very special guest from different part of the world, and we have Mr. Jonathan Hollander from USA, and we have Sadia Khalid Reeti from Bangladesh. We have an amazing Arup. So welcome our guest tonight.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, world.
Yeah, so
Hi,
I think
everybody.
right now world need to know one of the answer, and this is like, how are you? And both of you, if you can answer individually, it will be okay. So first, Jonathan, you can answer because we know that the first COVID-19 just first hit in China, and after the China, then Italy, then USA. So I think you are in a very insecure zone. I don't know. So can you please answer? How are you?
Yes, this has been a very challenging time, but first of all, greetings to you and to the fellow guests and to the Bangladeshi people. I'm so happy to have this opportunity to connect with you. Things have been very, very challenging here in New York. I'm in New York City, and on March 13th, that was the last time that my dance company actually could come together physically. We had to exercise social distancing. Everyone went to their homes, and that's where we stayed for the duration. The cases, fortunately, have come way, way down in New York, but across the United States, we had our worst day ever yesterday, 50,000 cases. So the COVID is really a plague that is challenging everyone in this country. And of course, wearing masks and maintaining social distancing, hand washing, and all of the typical hygiene, or not, I shouldn't say typical, nobody ever knew about these things beforehand, but now they become an everyday practice. And we're all doing our best to keep safe. So thank you for asking me. I'm okay. My team is okay. But we're very worried about the people around the United States and the world who are very much challenged by this terrible pandemic.
Wow, thank you. So, Sadia Khalid Reeti, we know that more than 500 journalists infected and 16 journalists already died. So, if I ask you, how are you? Because you're a journalist too.
Can you repeat that? I lost you there.
Yeah. So we know that more than 500 journalists infected and during the time of COVID-19, and also more than 16 journalists died. So, and I know you were a journalist too. So how are you? Hello. Yes. So are you hearing me? Hello, Reeti, are you hearing me? I think there's a connection problem. So, Arup Rahee, how are you?
Yeah, I'm okay. Physically, I'm okay, but the COVID situation here and around the world is very, very, disturbing in terms of so many people are in different sort of problems with their health, with their income, with their livelihood. So many people don't have any shelter. Uh, they have no treatment. So there are so many things. Always affecting our mental state. So it's very depressing in that sense, and also very disturbing to see to know all these things always. So okay, so this is the reality we have to deal with.
Wow.
So,
Yeah, I think we are happy that it's still, we are okay. So, Sadia Khalid Reeti, and we know that more than 500 journalists infected by the COVID-19, and also more than 60 journalists died approximately on COVID-19. So, I know you were working as a journalist too. So, how are you?
Yeah. Yeah. So we've been working from home since March, and since the late March, and our office is now in lockdown because someone was infected, and so we're going to work from home for another month. And for my page, the culture page, it's not a big issue, except for these things like I just got cut off a few seconds before in a face-to-face meeting that wouldn't happen, and it would be more warm. So that's something we're missing. But reporting wise, for culture page, it's not been an issue, but I feel very strongly for our reporters who are working in the fields, the photographers and the journalists who are, they have to be where, the they have to follow the story. So like say during Eid, when people were flocking to go to their village homes, and our photographers and our journalists had to be there, knowing that the risk is very much greater than their regular lives, but they still did it because we have to inform the people, keep them updated.
Yeah, I think so. I think the audience are happy because we are fine, and I think the audience, those who are listening us around the world, I think they're also fine. So we know that during the time of lockdown, the creativity, entertainment, and recreation is on lockdown. So if I ask both of you, Mr. Jonathan, I know that like the battery dance has been working, I mean more than 45 years and working around the world, around the different continents. So during the time of lockdown, during the time of pandemic, how battery dance are working?
Yes, well, we knew that the work in schools, the work in theaters, our international travel, and our programs here in New York had to go through a drastic change. That was obvious. We couldn't reach our beneficiaries in schools or the public in a live way. So my team of young people worked very, very hard. And on the 27th of March, they created a platform called Battery Dance TV. And we decided to have a regular program, 5 programs every day, 7 days a week, of classes, dance classes, getting people moving, getting people in touch with their bodies at a time when everybody's frozen on the screen, or in depression, as was mentioned by my colleague. And we feel that exercising the body and also connecting online, it's the only chance we have right now. So this Battery Dance TV and our YouTube channel became our vehicle for communication with the world. And we've had people, 135,000 views across 135 countries so far. So obviously people are needing this, and we want to be there. The challenge for us is that we're not being paid, in the sense that the organization's income has pretty much stopped. We are paying our artists. This is a way for us to keep them with food and shelter and paying their rent. So we're paying them for the work that they're doing, but the Battery Dance is not receiving the income streams that we normally do, obviously, because so much has changed. So we're working very hard to raise money so that we can continue this type of service. Also, 2 other things I wanted to highlight. One is the healthcare workers. Like my colleague was saying, the people who are out in the field, they're the ones who are in the most danger, and they're supporting everybody else. So we created a program called Mindful Movement for healthcare workers. This is 8 sessions a week of 15 minutes of people just doing simple movements. It's not for people who are trained dancers. I mean, they can take part, but it's for the healthcare workers to heal themselves. And then another thing that we're doing is our festival, which is our main program in New York City, that is on the banks of the Hudson River every year in August for 7 days, where we showcase dance from around the world. And we can't do that live, even predicting August.
Yeah, I mean, this is a situation around the world which is going on. So yes, I'll back to you again. And Arup Rahee bhai, and I know like the people when they know like how you are performing, and people are gathering, and a lot of young generations, and they have this inspirations, and they get inspired by you. So how you are doing?
Well, I know since the current COVID-19 situation, there is no that sort of programs being arranged, no gigs, no concerts, no that sort of gathering. So what we are trying to do is to be in touch with people. How much we can with our friends, colleagues, and our listeners, everyone. So we are using social media, Facebook platforms, and SoundCloud and YouTube, so people can get together in some sort of ways. They can listen to our songs, music, etc., etc. We also organize sort of a different sort of addas. Hanging out online. So that sort of thing we are just can think of organizing or doing. But At the same time, the situation is so different and difficult, and the idea or the notion of recreation, etc., it doesn't carry the same notion in this situation. So the entertainment things, recreation things, these are different times.
Yeah.
So we have to we're experiencing sort of new sensitivity of I mean holding our lives and living in this critical situation, and how to understand the situation, how to engage the situation, how to deal with the situation, how to connect with the people in different levels. For example, COVID-19 is not itself by itself is a equalizing thing. So it is impacting in different ways to different people of color, people of abilities, different sort of abilities, gender. So it's difficult for to be sort of normal.
Yeah, I think even every pandemic also changed the language of culture, also changed the language of different term, and also different terms, and also different kinds of perspective. Because we saw that like after the pandemic, a lot of people, and there's a lot of new creativity, new graffiti we have seen the last few months. Yes, I'll back to you again. And Riti, so I know that like you have a lot of interconnections with the different international film festivals, and you have a lot of programs. You are sort of you have so connectivity with a lot of people from the world. So during the time of pandemic, so basically how you are making your communications and how it is working, and what's the plan?
Yeah, so during this pandemic, the Cannes Film Festival got, it was taken online, and only the market was available. So what we did was that I was a jury for one of the one section, and so we were sent screeners. So we saw all the films from home, and we made the judgment from home. We didn't go to France. So that was a big difference. You don't get to meet those people and everything, but you do get to see the films, not in the big screen, but in your laptop. So that's a huge difference. And also there were other film festivals. Like there was one, a very good one that's called We Are One Global Film Festival. That was like all the big film festivals came together to do one 10-day festival on YouTube. That was great because it was free and we could access those films. Like from Bangladesh, you can't always go to those European festivals because it's so expensive and it takes so much time. It's not even feasible. They won't even give you the visa all the time because you get the invitation 1 month before the festival, and it takes 3 months to get a visa. So you don't get to go there.
Yeah, some technical problems. Yeah.
Very many problems. So
Yeah, please continue.
so having those online, it made it accessible for all of us. You could be in a village and you could watch those films or those very, very exclusive films online for free. So it was a huge opportunity. The way the festivals handled this situation and the way they evolved, it was very good and very generous of them to do this.
I think the same thing is true in the realm of dance, that a lot of times people who are talented or passionate about studying dance might be located in a rural place or a small town. They don't have the money to relocate to a big city to study with somebody important in a guru. So this is a democratizing experience with being able to go online, and many classes are free. So people are studying and getting access to very high level training that they wouldn't be able to do live.
Yeah, I think this is important. Like right now, everyone has access to even communicate, also to get same resource from the different part of the world. So if I ask both of you first, I think I want to get that stuff from the Rahee. So if I ask you during the time of pandemic, so the artists and creative people thinking about like not only the pandemic or the challenge of exploring their creativity or introducing their creativity. I mean, when we are talking about the state of the arts. So do you think the pandemic is a challenge for exploring or like open up the own idea to the world, or if there any other challenge when we are talking about a state of arts?
Yeah, very, very important question, actually. So let me begin with the last comment by Jonathan regarding the access to different sort of trainings and et cetera, et cetera. But at the same time, I mean, uh, those people who have that sort of internet access, they
Mm.
only can get that sort of education online, etc. So there is a issue of disparity and other I mean indicators of people's empowerment or access to the resources, etc., etc. So there is the problem, and that COVID-19 is not by itself doing any help to those people who are cornered or in disparity. So that is the issue here. And now let's come to the point of state of the art. Well, the very I find many problems with the very idea of doing art and the history of art. How do we conceptualize art, and how the concept and practices of art being changed over the time in different historical contexts. For example, what is the impact of disasters and epidemics and pandemics and wars in the culture of art itself? For example, how do we conceptualize art in a global context where we are experiencing the very obvious thing we even don't care to think about it. Sometimes many of us don't care to think about it. That is the racial colonial modernity, capitalist modernity, who is actually created the basic infrastructural context of conceptualizing art in contemporary world, and how this art practices being portrayed as art practice, how the notion of art being set or defined by whom, and what sort of art practices being recognized and which are not being recognized as art and art practices. So these are very so-called classical questions, old-fashioned questions, but I think COVID-19 situation is a very important time to rethink about these sort of questions, because sometimes we think that this is another pandemic or epidemic, and it will go away, and it will be all right, etc., etc. And we'll learn something from this pandemic situation experiences, and we'll build a new world. But how?
Could
How these
comment on that?
Yeah, I think Arup Rahee bhai, I think Jonathan can answer, please. How?
No, I
And
don't
how
have I don't have an answer at all, but I wanted to just take some of your points, Arup, and put them in context of the United States, where we not only have, the caseload of COVID, but we also have Black Lives Matter and a social upheaval and an awareness by white people of a kind of history of the United States that we didn't know and weren't educated in. So there are converging issues here that are causing people to do what you said, to think differently, to look back at history and question the social order. So in a way, we're put off of everything that we assumed before. Assumptions are gone, and everything is up for reevaluation now. And so, I can speak for my dance company that the whole issue of Black Lives Matter and equity, and also seeing these episodes online of police brutality, they can't be ignored. It's in front of us, and maybe we're paying even more attention because everybody's at home looking at their screens all the time. So you cannot detach yourself from what's going on in the world. And so in a way that is a benefit, because you things change, and will art practice change, and will people's minds change? And my feeling is they have to change, and they already have. We're in the middle of change. So, I hold on to my optimism, because without that, I would be in a stasis. I couldn't move, I couldn't work. But with optimism, hoping for change in a positive sense and equity around the world, these are goals that I think we can think about, and each one of us can do whatever we can do to try to forward that motion.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Reeti,
but may I take another minute?
please.
So,
Yeah, I think
so
then I
basically, I'm talking about how state of the art is being produced, and how this normal is being challenged by different, people of different countries. For example, the Black Lives Matters movement. We are following this very, seriously. We are trying to understand this global, phenomenal, event. So, what I was trying to say, I'm not talking about optimism or etc. etc. No, I am thinking politically, how the process of comprehending the world. The work of art is also to comprehend the world. So how this comprehension of world, that is global capitalist modernity, the very pervasive way controlling our lives, and that's why the Black Lives Matters movement came through, because they are being all the people of colors are being systematically oppressed, exploited by this colonial modernity, that is global capitalism. So people who are being oppressed and exploited, they are being the protagonist of the change, not the system itself, not the business as usual itself. So how this state of art being changed, that is the question. And if, for example, if the situation changes upside down or from within, the very foundations of this colonial modernity, that is called colonial capitalism, is being demolished, how can we think of the business as usual of art, that is art industrial complex? This is a very, very, very capitalist thing, the art industrial complex. It's being consumed.
I think,
It's art is
yeah.
being commodified. So how
Yeah.
this culture is being to continue? If this situation continues, then nothing is going to change. So the very, very practices, the very culture of productivity, the very culture of capitalist, racist capitalism, if this persists, the very, very role of art and the artists are not going to be, something.
Yeah, I think we are understanding. Like, I think this is really important issues right now. The audience are listening. So, Sadia Khalid Reeti, if I ask you, like, when you're talking with the state of arts, because you're working one of the media, like you are working with the Dhaka Tribunes, and we know that you have different communications around the world. When we are talking about the state of arts, so how it is basically the work during the time of a pandemic, and what is meant to you?
Okay, so if we look at the film industry, how it's doing now, so the whole chain of income has been broken now. So say if you're an actor, you can't get the work because you can't network. Then you don't get the works, you don't work, and then you don't also get the bills for the works that you've already done, right? So, and also say if you have a film that's waiting to be released, you can't release it. So that's also, I mean, every income source has been blocked. So, I mean, what can I say? It's, I mean, definitely.
Yeah, when
artists
we
are
were talking
suffering.
about like the capitalistic approach, like during the time of this is not only during the time of pandemics and also during the time of capitalistic approach, there's a lot of consumer from the different entertainment field. They're also deprived. So how you will answer that?
I
Yeah, so I mean,
think
oh,
that we should stay away from labels and capitalism and so forth and so on, because we are artists and we're working in film, in music, in theory and dance. And how do we approach these issues when you're talking about capitalism and colonialism in these terms? I personally feel like it's not productive, because what can I do about capitalism? What does capitalism mean? I really hope that our conversation can be more intimate in terms of how, as you were saying, Reeti, how the actor is affected, how the
Yeah.
the distribution of film or your music, Arup, who is actually accessing your music. I did want to make one point, which is I was in touch with various friends and colleagues in Mumbai, and you know that Mumbai is very, very hard hit right now by the COVID. And we were trying to figure out how we could reach the young people, because that's a lot of our audience is really young people, people who do not have access to the arts and to resources. And I was told that people in Dharavi, the largest slum in Asia, the kids have cell phones, and with those cell phones, they have a tool of connection. So we're trying to think how our lessons, how our resources, how our online presence can be appreciated and stimulated and give hope to young people who have so little. I mean, I think that's my goal right now. I don't want to deal with capitalism and all of these things that really, I can't deal with. I don't know how I would impact that, but I know how I can impact a young person in Dharavi, for example.
mhm.
Yeah, Rick, if you please continue, like how when Jonathan was talking about like how it is impacting and how it is impacting the young peoples and also the industry. Because one of the things also, Rahee, we know that during the time of pandemic and also this is a global time when a person, those who have options to choose something in between national, international, local. So in the meantime, I think how it is work. I will back to you again. So if Ritti, if I ask you like how it is impacting to the industry.
Okay, so yeah, so I was talking about the actors and the filmmakers. They're suffering like this because they're all of the stages of their income have been blocked now. So and even looking into the future, like you can see some reports in the international news medias, like 75% of British theaters will be shut down after the pandemic. That's a very depressing number. So we really have to be looking at a changed future and how we can really prepare ourselves for that at this moment. So I think a lot of web content is being made now, and there are new web platforms that are starting in Bangladesh as well. And we're having a lot of debates about censorship, as the Bangladesh is now. Um, so I mean, because we don't have set rules for those, so maybe we will have some new rules for that. So we're really preparing for a future where shutting down of theaters won't really shut down our industry. We'll still have some place where we can showcase our work, our films, short films, web series, dramas. They can all, be have a new home online.
Yeah, Arup bhai. So when we are thinking about when you were talking about the colonialism and purposism and also the capitalism. So in the meantime, when during the time of pandemic, when we are in the same platform, COVID-19 is hitting every country, and every people has the same access. Like so, everyone are changing their policy for the next notion for the next step. So as an artist, you have an industry, you are working in one of the creative industry. So how you're changing your policy or keep pace with the crisis?
Well, as I said earlier, COVID-19 is not by itself a sort of equalizing thing. It's not impacting at the same level for all the people around the world. It's not. So and the business as usual, the disparities, the lack of access of the people, all things are being remaining the same. Not only same, but also in some cases in different parts of the world, sort of authoritarianism is being very very prominent in some countries. So
Arup, when the US industry more than 20 billion US dollar losses, and also the China and Italy and also the development country, when they have lost the same times when this is going on around the world. So how you say that it's not only the loss of one of the country, this is some authoritarian system or some colonizations, or there is some role or impact of somebody's. How you say that? Because people are thinking this is happening around the world. Like I'm infected, and Jonathan same, and Reeti same, and you are same. And how you say that it is not it is not equal.
Okay, we can take another example. For example, climate change, for example. So climate change is not impacting at the same level for in every corner of the world. No. So, I mean, whatever happens, big events, big cases like disasters, or earthquake, or pandemic, or war, it's always, impacts differently to different people, in different part of the world. It's not the same. So whatever losses, or job cuts, etc. All these, all these are being happening. But what I am trying to say is that the very exploitative system is not being changed. So whoever, even the richer are being more rich. You see the reports. Steve Jobs, Amazon, etc. They are being, more richer in this pandemic situation. How come?
And how it's playing the negative impact to the artist, to a creative person.
No. Don't take one side, of this whole thing. So what I'm trying to say is that people who have already, who are already in power or in better access in the power structure of this industry, art industry, creative industry, whatever you say, whatever you label, I don't mind labeling. Art is itself is a label of modernity. What is art and what's not? Who is defining what is art and what is not? So there is always, the politics of labeling. You can't simply, avoid it. So another part. So what I am trying to say is that whoever people who have the better access or powerful, they are, being able to do something, whatever charity, fundraising, helping the poor, etc. Do-gooders. All the do-gooders of the world, art industry, creative industry. There are so many do-gooders. I don't personally say something to anyone. What I am trying to say is that this is another opportunity of the philanthropic capitalism as well. So all the powerfuls, all the moneyed persons, they are being so generous. They are doing art. They are going to education centers doing yoga. I myself am yoga teacher, so I am watching the situation. There are so many retreats who are offering secured yoga retreats so people can avoid COVID and do their yoga. So same reproduction of the business as usual is being done.
I really have to take issue with this, because I know people in Kolkata, I know people in Kerala who they're not rich people. They are working people in the field of art. They are stopping their art production and they're making packets of food to distribute to the other artists who might be just 1 or 2 steps lower than them in terms of security, food security, health security. So, you're painting such a broad picture, and I'm not discrediting your points. I think you've made some very good points, but I think that you are overlooking some of the granular reality of when you talk about do-gooders and you put that in the category of rich people going to a resort to do yoga. I mean, this is an extreme, and it covers over the impulse to help, which I see coming from people of all sectors. It's not exclusive to the rich to be philanthropic. We know that. Some of the people who have just enough are some of the most philanthropic people in the world. So we can't overlook these points, by painting this broad brush of capitalism and the rich and taking advantage of the situation to become richer. I'm not disputing some of your points, but I think that you're overlooking too much by sort of taking this very strong party line.
Jonathan, how you're changing your policy? If I ask you, like, how you changing your policy during the time of pandemics, and I'll back to also Rahee and also the Reeti. Jonathan, how you are changing?
We have changed because all of our traditional ways of interacting with our beneficiaries, meaning students in New York City public schools, there are 1.3 million students in New York City public schools. And as Arup said, some of them do not have access to online, to be able to do their classes. So we are working on that problem. That is something that addresses us that maybe we weren't aware of before, because we were actually going to the schools and we were going into the classrooms and the students were there. So there was no issue of whether they had, an iPad and, Wi-Fi. So we're having to evaluate all of these issues that are changing right now. And I do feel that it is a time of change. I see Arup is seeing this as a time of hardening bad practices. I see it as a time of change, of opening doors and opening the minds of people. Our concentration on Black Lives Matter, on concentration on equity. We were working as artists very hard on delivering art to a diverse public, but now we've redoubled our efforts at home and abroad.
Yeah, so Reeti, if I ask you like how the plan is changing, because everyone are changing the plan and also the different conflicts and also the diverse issues is going on. So when we saw that like there's a lot of challenge, and in the meantime this is the new challenge because COVID-19, which is changing a lot of things, and new creativity also introduced like Corona graffiti and also different kind of song, different kind of films. So you are a screenwriter and you are a creative people. So how you are changing? Like a lot of people change their business even during the time of COVID-19, and what do you have changed?
So, okay. One thing is that I'm doing office like without weekends because right now we have less people and we're working from home, so we can't complain. And I'm not complaining. I'm very happy with what I do. And one good thing is that I had more time to write the script that I've been holding off because, every day I had to spend at least like 4 hours in traffic because I live in Baridhara and my office is in Pantupal. And then I teach in ULab and Jagannath. Those are like, in very, very far off places, and the traffic is horrible. So I say 4 hours a day in traffic. So I'm very happy for that. So I've been getting a lot of time to write. When you say about changing, one thing that changed was that we had this festival that were supposed to take place here. Like we have a Sylhet festival that was supposed to take place in Sylhet, and we were very excited to go to a very exotic place. But now we'll be sitting at home. We're doing the hard work, but the fun is missing. And also we had this workshop from Film Independent. Jonathan must know about that. It's from LA. So they were supposed to come to Dhaka. They had already flown.
Josh, I grew up with the Welsh family, Josh Welsh, who's the head of Film Independent, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So some of them even flew halfway. And then when they heard about how bad it is here, they flew back. So we had to do that online. So, and some of the participants in that workshop, they were having, network issues, so they dropped out. That was a bad thing. They missed out on that. But the good thing is that, we can always record the conversations and then send them later on. So, it's always the glass half full, half empty, it's both. So you have to.
I'm using the expression "silver lining" a lot.
Yeah, silver lining.
Yeah, Arup, Rahee, if I back to you, like I think the audience will listen more. So if I back to during the time of pandemic, what things really you have changed, because we know that right now you are not able to performing publicly, and there's a lot of restrictions. And a lot of things, I think this is not only here, this is around the world. And one of the thing I want to add it, like during the time of pandemic in Bangladesh, those who are philanthropists and different volunteer organizations, they really work. If you really talk about one of the organizations like Bidyaloy, and where they talk about the public fund and they're not taking fund from the other countries, so like they're working and they're helping the people. So what things really you change and how you are planning the rest of the time, rest of the life, if this thing is going on?
Okay, thank you, Shuja. Let me begin with the last comment Jonathan made regarding my part. So I'm not overlooking the I know the very different sort of initiatives by the by different communities or peoples to to come up to help others in this COVID situation who have no medical facilities, foods, etc. I am part of that. I am not overlooking these roles. What I am trying to say is that since the our talk today is about the state of the art and the culture of art, how COVID situation is helping us to learn and relearn. That's what I'm trying to exercise. I'm not trying to just brush away something and win the situation. No, I am not, and I am not even trying to go back to the normal, because this normal is very dangerous. This normal is very exploitative. This normal is very racist. This normal is very sexist and what's not. So I don't want to back to go to the normal. But the problem is, and the challenge is how we, the artists, we call ourselves artists and creative persons or whatever. The challenge for us is how we understand this situation historically, culturally, politically, socially, and how, if what are the ways or avenues to open our minds, as Jonathan was talking about, opening our minds, learning from this experience, this world, big phenomenon called COVID-19. So my challenge is how to understand this situation better. How, as an quote unquote artist or creative person, I can help myself, treat better as a human being. I can, treat the nature better as part. I'm a part of this nature. How this world system works so that pandemics doesn't happen again. How can we make this world, face another doesn't face another war, and how we can overcome racism, for example. So that is the challenge for the artists. What else?
And how artists can contribute also, and how artists can also contribute.
Only by rethinking the very normal, the very capitalist, racial, modernist normal. Only by, through this rethinking process, we can open up our mind by questioning the very normal, the questioning the very art industrial complex, that is capitalist mode of consuming art. So it's not helping us. It will not. It will simply heal the situation for time being, so that the business as usual can run forever. That is not artist's duty to help perpetuate this exploitative racial colonial world system. It is not. So my duty, my responsibility as an artist, as a creative person, is to start rethinking the whole new normal. The
Okay.
whole,
add something.
Yeah, please, Reeti.
Yeah, I think artists are really contributing to this change. Like if you think about the Black Lives Matter movement, there are lots of celebrities who are lending their voice, who are being there at the protests physically, and they're being very vocal about this problem. And even as a result, we're even saying that the colorism is also being affected. Like Fair and Lovely is changing its name to Glow and Lovely, right? So that's a very big step for a big company like that, because they've been making millions out of this, fairness creams, and those are just,
And I also
feeding
heard
off.
that Johnson and Johnson is discontinuing 2 of their products, so there is a change in that way. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
Jonathan.
the
So
artist
yeah,
spoke about those, and it had an effect.
Thanks. Sorry. Please go on. Please.
no problem. So Jonathan, if I ask you like how art are really contributing and during the time of pandemic, and yes, we know that the people are traumatized and people have a lot of depression, a lot of problems. And in the meantime, in your own creative perception, in your own creative way, how battery dance, how art really working for the people and how it is contributing.
I think that we think by day, hour by hour, what is our practice? What can we do in this environment? First of all, just as individuals, we can be responsible. We can wear masks. There are many people who are gathering without masks. They're just going to bring back the whole spike again. So we can show ourselves in masks as artists, and therefore as role models. That's the very beginning. That's the smallest thing we can do. We can also show how people can work together remotely and find a harmonious product that people will enjoy, that doesn't involve putting anybody at risk. I mean, I'm thinking really at the ground level. I'm thinking about how bringing some kind of relief to individuals who are sequestered in their homes and having mental problems and depression and domestic abuse. It's on the rise because people are under so much pressure. If we can just bring a pause, a physical pause to people, I'm not saying grandiose schemes. I'm saying step by step. I don't know how to do anything that is going to change my society, but I can contribute to whatever I can do. And this is what I find connecting. Like here we are in this conversation. We wouldn't be having this conversation if we weren't having COVID-19. I'm meeting these wonderful, smart, and activist people in ways that I would never do before. And it's all because of you, Suja. And I want to make sure that our audience knows who you are, Suja. Suja is doing work in the Rohingya refugee camps and the Cox's Bazar host community to bring people together, to bring some kind of hope and content, resource to children in the Rohingya refugee camps who are not getting education, who are not getting the kind of life opportunities. But imagine if they have paint and they can be told, we care about you. You have something to say. Let's see what you can say on that mural or on that bus. So, I relate to this kind of activism, art activism, by actually doing what we can do. Suja knows that I want to come to Bangladesh with my dancers who want to join me in bringing some kind of dance training to trainers, train Rohingya artists in how to do the kind of programming that Battery has done in 70 countries around the world with Dancing to Connect. These are the ideas. This is what's happening for me. Right now, I'm thinking of taking Battery Dance TV, which has 500 programs, and changing it into the Spanish language so that we can reach the 20 countries in Latin America where people are facing terrible struggles. So, I don't know how to think in big ways. I have to think about the day-to-day, hour-to-hour ways that I personally and my team can bring something positive to other people. That's the meta level of what I'm doing.
Yeah, thank you. So this is one of the art, I think you bring up the idea, I think that's really amazing, which has been done by the Rohingya refugee. And one of the organizations is called the Resolution, which has been working for 2017 here. And a group of Rohingya artists, basically, this is the first time they're exploring their own art and culture through their own way, through their own idea. And this is an art, has been done by them, and this is also for them. So I think this is the thing is going on. And
I put this in the context of Arup, because Arup is talking about, the wealthy. Well, we have 2 art students from America who put together this Artolution concept. They graduated from a very, very good school. They came from good families. But what are they doing? It's not about self-aggrandizing and raising their profile as individuals. They understand they needed to find Suja and have Suja find artists in the refugee camps. In other words, passing on the idea, hey, you can be creative and you can be an activist, and we trust that you can carry this mantle better than we can. I mean, it's an incredible model of generosity and also trust and respect. I can't think of a better example than Art-Olution.
Yeah, Arup, Rahee, if I back to you, yes, we have, I think you will get 2 minutes, and I think we need to be, and everyone will get the 2 minutes, and then we need to be complete, please. Arup, Rahee, please.
Okay, thank you, Suja. Let me pick a very important point Reeti made before. That is the issue of Black Lives Matters movement. So what I am trying to say in this whole session is, what is the role of art in society, in the world, and what is the role of an artist and a creative person in this world, in their community, in the society. What I'm trying to say is that it is the very important time to think and rethink the very notion of art, the very notion of art history, art practices around the world, and art practice in a world that has by default it's whatever level you give it, globalization, capitalism, racial, colonial, modernity, whatever, I don't mind, but it is, and that is racial capitalism has been systematically oppressing the black people for more than 400-500 years, and that is the Black Lives Matters movement now reclaiming their lives. What I'm trying to say is that going to a community and say, so some people say to some people, you can be an artist. No, it is not. They are already. The problem is, or the challenge is, how we can, rethink the very history and perception of art and art practice in a very exploitative, world system. How this sort of, can we think of a world where we don't need any sort of, appreciation from some people who are privileged and do something good for the non-privileged or underprivileged? No, we don't want this world. No, who we are to say that you people can be artists? No, they are. So that is the problem.
They're the artists, but they need to get the floor. They need to know, like,
who are us? Who are we to give them the floor? Like, for example,
in fact, Battery Dance is doing just that, and so is Art-Olution. We're not. It's not what we say. It's about what we give and do, and walk away and say it's yours.
It's yours.
Yes, that's the point. It's empowering.
I think we cannot settle all the things right now through this, exchanges. But let us be respectful to each other's positions. So what I am trying to say is that the very form of the civilization, I mean the civilizing mission of the Western colonial modernity and the global capitalism is a very problematic thing, which is causing most of the problems in this world. So I think this is the high time to rethink the whole history of the world, and COVID-19 pandemic can, it should be the opportunity for us to rethink the whole idea, whole traditions, whole, of art and doing art, exchanging or understanding the world through art, connecting through art. What is connection, by the way? Who is the agency to connect, and to whom we connect? These are political, very, very political questions. I mean, typically we are not easy to talk about politics when you talk about art. That is the very problematic of the art politics or politics of art.
Yeah, I think I've arranged the other show, the political art. So when the people, the ground, those who are benefited of something, and that person are not thinking about which is political or non-political. I think this is also the important issue you also bring up. So Reeti, if I ask you, like, what about your message to the world, like how you were thinking about BQ? So you're already end of the show.
Okay, so during this pandemic, people are spending more time with art. People are watching more art. People are creating more art. So as say journalists or artists, it's our job to bring that art to the people. So that's what we're trying to do now. We're trying to, arrange as many online festivals as possible. And we're trying to make news about those so that people know that this is going on and, they can find some relief there. So just doing our bit. That's about it.
Yeah, Jonathan, please.
Well,
What about your message to the world?
I think Reeti said it exactly the way I would say it, that other people, like-minded people, and make connections. I mean, in any day of the week, you can have me in communication with people in Bolivia or in India, Bangladesh, or in Spain. I mean, this is I wouldn't have time for these kinds of conversations if I were working in my normal way. So I'm looking at the silver linings, to repeat myself, and say that, because I have to, for my own mental health, for my own sense of progress and forward motion, and leadership of a team that is working very, very hard to find within themselves the resource to move on and to be creative. So yeah, that's what it's about for me.
Yeah, Arup, Rahee bhai, and simply like, what about your message to the world?
Well, let's rethink. Let's rethink about the world, and build a new world, and it's an
Yeah.
opportunity to do this, to start rethinking and rebuilding the world. That's all.
I think.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Shuja, for
thank you
inviting
everyone. I think, and when the situation is gonna be okay, the Jonathan will be here, and we will do the discussions with Arup, Rahee bhai together, and also with Reeti. And I think we believe that during the time of lockdown and recreation, entertainment, and creativity are not lockdown, and this is all this thing is going on parallelly. So I think everyone, the rest of the life, I think you will be okay and you will be safe. That's we hope, and I think the audience, those who are living, this is the high time to stay beside, to save with the other person, because we believe that this is the time to make the relationship, also make the communication bridge without any kind of interest or without any kind of critical notions, so that we will not face any kind of depression or problem. And thank you, bye bye for tonight, and thank you, Jonathan, for joining me here, and Reeti, and also Arup, bye bye.
Thank you. Nice to meet you, guys.
Thank
Bye.
you.